Welcome to the Art of Listening to Your Body podcast. My name is Dr. Jinong and I'm your host. I'm a cathartic release therapist, professionally trained as an osteopath, psychosomatic therapist, Western acupuncturist, and herbalist. I'm fascinated by the mind-body connection and how your physical body is a manifestation of your emotional state. I help people get unstuck from their chronic pain, whether it be physical or emotional, and live the life they truly desire, grounded in values and driven by purpose. My aim is to create awareness to the underlying emotions behind pain, injury, and disease in the body, as well as behavioural dysfunctions and mental imbalances that present. I do this using a unique blend of Eastern and Western philosophies and a good dose of intuition. Join me to learn more about the story of your body, what different issues may indicate, how to release emotions so that you can prevent problems, as well as inspiring pain story interviews. Just a heads up that this episode contains expletives. Better out than in. It's all part of emotion. However, if you have kids around and don't want them to hear this, pop your headphones in or take some time out to yourself and listen in peace and quiet. Lauren White is a secret keeper, activator of high-generating women, and facilitator of intimate luxury events that turn you on. A qualified counsellor and sexologist, she spent 8 years helping women to cultivate a better libido before hanging up her sexologist hat and fully stepping into the role she's not so secretly inhabited as a confidant. With 3 degrees behind her, Lauren has turned her love of women's personal stories and most private admissions into a proven framework that gives women the green light to be themselves in and out of the business, boardroom, and brand. The transformation is integration. She hosts the Secrets Women Keep podcast and is a regular podcast guest around the world that has contributed words, both spoken and written, in Australian media outlets. As an avid writer, she made the dream of being a published author come true with the release of Permission, Personal Liberation for Switched On Women. This was a year-long project that taught her what creative trust is and how she has the power to stay in states of flow for long stretches of time. She will be your fiercest ally, your biggest cheerleader, and your most trustworthy truth teller. And she'll do it all with heartfelt sincerity, a huge smile, and even a celebratory dance. Welcome to the podcast, Lauren. Nice to switch roles here and interview you today.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I am very happy to switch roles. I was just like, oh, relief. I get to show up and be asked the questions this time. So yeah, really excited to be here and to see what comes out of us speaking today.
Yeah. So you asked me what my bathroom stall moment was to introduce me. However, I'm just going to get you to roll in with tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. My name is Lauren White, and I am someone who values intimacy. And in valuing intimacy, I have always worked in professions where I help and assist people through the dark times in life. So I started off in mental health and then started working in drug and alcohol as a registered nurse. And when I was going through my Saturn return when I was 27, 28, I started Googling other courses and I was like, what am I interested in? What's going to harness what I already know but be something different? And I started Googling gender and sexuality courses, and Curtin University's Sexology program came up. And I'd never heard of it before, didn't know that sexology was an actual thing that people studied, but felt this instant knowing that, yes, this is what I'm meant to do. And it was quite fortuitous, really, because I wrote them an email And at the time, you had to physically reside in Perth to do the program. And we just moved to Brisbane about 2 years before. And I was like, I don't want to move. I don't want to go to Perth. Just move to Brisbane. And they ended up replying and saying, this is the first year we're going to take students who reside in other locations. Would you like to join the program? Yes, I would. And I just needed to go over to Perth a couple of times throughout the program to do some in-house learning and block weeks. And I was more than happy to do that and came out the other side with a graduate diploma of sexology. So I've always wanted to know the most secret kind of parts of people's lived human experience. I've always been so intensely curious about how people live their lives, how they see the world, and being one of the people that walks alongside them through their bathroom stall moments, the moments that are like the breakdown before the breakthrough. And sexology, I practiced as a sexologist for maybe about 7 or 8 years, working with women one-on-one mostly to assist them to source their libido for sex, intimacy, and life. And during that incredible year that was the year 2020, I got that energetic tap on the shoulder and a whispering in my ear. What you once thought empowered you is now imprisoning you, and you are no longer a sexologist, you are a confidant. And I listened to that and went and just had so many tears for months about, I have to change again. Or I'd already been through so many iterations of myself and the work in being a sexologist. And when I have to listen to this, and went through all that nitty gritty of changing gears, changing messaging, changing ideal clients, just all of it. It was so awkward, but now I'm in the good bit. So it was so worth it. So now the services that I offer, I love working with high generating women. And what I mean by that is they're highly energized. They are devoted to their work and their passion. What they've noticed is, though, that energetically they are quite in alignment with everything, and they're feeling a bit dissatisfied with life, with intimacy, and most of all with their relationship to themselves. So I walk alongside these women to help them energetically align to what it is that they want, what they desire, maybe what they've been denying themselves, and to make sure that they are being more responsive and less reactive in their life so that they can get to those good bits, so that they can get to fulfillment and integration. And I do that through one-to-one and luxury events and VIP days. So that is me in the work in a nutshell.
And you're loving it?
Yes. Yeah, I am. I love it. And what I love about it is how it calls me to action. It calls me to look in the mirror every single day and say, are you being the thing that you are, that you are proposing to other women? And I can say, yes, I am. Yes, I am still human. Yes, I'm still, I will still make some, errors with my judgment, but I'm always learning and evolving, and my recovery time is a lot quicker than it used to be. Something that used to devastate me and block me for weeks on end is now like an hour of my time. And it's like, all right, and next. So I'm really harnessing my superpowers and leveling up in so many ways, and inviting women to level up as well, so that they can finally be the thing that they want to be and enjoy their lives and feel turned on for their lives, instead of feeling like they just have to go through the motions.
Can I ask about the sexologist degree that you did?
Mm-hmm.
What do you learn?
Sexology comes under a public health banner. So I want everyone to take this with a nice grain of salt. It is about looking at at sexual health research. And by sexual health, it doesn't necessarily mean transmissible diseases and illnesses, but more what does it say about the quality and quantity of what people do and what behaviours they engage in sexually. So sexology is the study of human sexuality, and the people that say yes to that degree either usually fall into one of three streams, which is education, therapy, or research. And for me, it was definitely the therapy piece that I was going for. When I went through Curtin's degree, one thing I really valued, I valued a lot of things in it. One thing I valued was we had a choice. We would have like a banner subject or topic for an assignment, and then we could choose what we wanted to look at. And I really appreciated that sense of freedom so that we could kind of mold the degree to where it is that we wanted to go. And what it showed me was what I thought I wanted to study and learn about. I started off being very interested in paraphilias, which are behaviors that within sexuality that are deemed to be more niche, sometimes problematic, not always. And I've found that very, very interesting. That is so far from when I came out 2 years later, that is so far from what I ended up being interested in.
Yeah, so can you just give us some examples of what paraphilias would be?
Yeah, so there are some very, very interesting ones. There's ones where, and the name has escaped me, but there are ones where people are sexually enamored and in a relationship with inanimate objects. So there's the lady that married the Eiffel Tower because that's her partner. There are people, usually men or testosterone-based humans that marry their car. So I think that's called mechaphilia. Those ones were actually really, really interesting because you could see these people you could see they believed it. They actually believed this inanimate object loved them back, and they were very sexually aroused by these objects. So that was one of it's very niche, by the way. It's not a common one to the best of our knowledge. But there are all sorts of paraphilias that are like, these kind of niche behaviors, feet, body parts, and some of the more, the ones that we know about that tend to be more destructive and traumatic to people in terms of children and adolescents. But there were some, really interesting ones in there as well.
That is interesting, for sure. Okay, and then tell us what else? What else about what you learned there? What is it and how is it that you worked with people who would come to you? What would people come to you for?
Yeah. So
as a sexologist.
When I was working as a sexologist exclusively, I've only ever worked with women. That's all that got my yes every step of the way. I didn't work with couples. I just worked with women on their own. And for the most part, they would contact me and say that they have low sexual interest, low sexual frequency. To them, that's from their perspective. I'm not, low is very subjective. They just weren't interested. They loved their partners, but they just couldn't reconcile being themselves, doing all that they do, and be sexual as well. It felt like there was a block there. Sometimes trauma was a part of their story, and what they felt was it might have been they might have been through a process of discussing their trauma in the past, and they felt like that had been settled to a degree, but now they're finding themselves in this new situation later on where it's like, I love this person, I feel safe with them, why don't I want to have sex with them? And sometimes sexual pain was a part of the reason in cases like vaginismus, which is where a woman really struggles to experience penetration because her pelvic floor muscles get locked quite tight. That can apply to tampons as well, or going and getting a pap smear. So I would work quite successfully with those clients actually in helping them to physically, emotionally and energetically open up for sex. And a lot of that work was centered around them doing things for themselves by themselves well before we bring any partner involvement in. So that was the majority of what I was helping women with quite successfully over a number of months, and really satisfying work. It was really satisfying work.
Okay, so we talked about multiple dark nights of the soul, and someone who I just interviewed earlier this morning also referenced the dark night of the soul, or what you call the bathroom stall moment. So can you take us through where you were and where you are now?
Yeah.
Bits in between.
Yeah. So I love talking about dark nights of the soul and bathroom stall moments. And to me, the only difference is, well, they're very similar processes, but dark night of the soul for me is literally a night where I don't sleep because I'm just crying and heaving and desperate for relief from this pain that I'm in. So I've had both bathroom stall moments and dark nights of the soul, all of which have been the breakdown to the breakthrough. There's always been something incredible on the other side. And it's very interesting that I don't trust them. I haven't had one for a long time. If I had one, I haven't had one since late December last year. But if I had one now, I would like to think that I'd be a bit more trusting based on what life has shown me. But usually what I'm feeling in one of those experiences is intense loneliness. I'm the only person that is going through this thing right now. And I'm not saying that mockingly, but I also am, because it's like, it's always the same script. I'm the only person. No one else would ever understand. All these other people have it so much easier. Like, blah, blah, blah. And I can see you smiling. There's always, the ingredients are intense loneliness, a sense of isolation, a sense of intense sadness, intense grief in some ways. Sometimes there's some regret mixed in with that. There's a sense of inadequacy mixed in. It's a really potent, both bathroom stall moments and dark nights of the soul are an incredibly potent cocktail for this is an ending. This is the end. How can I possibly get through this? And my bathroom stall moment that informed so much of my work was the beginning of 2020, before lockdowns happened. And I was just sitting in a restaurant with our friends and just felt like I was behind, like we just fucking grow up, Lauren. Like, how are you not at this point yet? Like, you sacrifice security to follow your dreams and look at where it's gotten you. Like, it was really like this really berating voice was coming through, and a bit of a shame spiral happened. So I went to the bathroom for ages and just had this big, big cry about it, and came out. And then that later on, not that day, but it later on informed a secret society that I formed for 9 months, where we chatted online and we had pseudonyms and we could just talk about whatever we wanted. So it's like, I have to trust, like, these things, they can be very generative. It's like you're in the winter and then the spring comes and something can grow and bloom from them. I've had a lot.
Yeah. So is there a particular one, because you've had many of them, a particular one where you can just take us into the story a little bit more?
Yeah. I'll take you into the story. There's that one. That one was quite powerful because it really showed me that when I kind of not self-destructed, I didn't hurt myself in any way, but that sense of destruction happening was actually created something else. So that one was quite powerful. My most powerful dark night of the soul was December last year, when I had a wonderful day with 2 groups of friends, which really held a lot of meaning to me, because we've been turned around from seeing our family at Christmas time to get back across our border in Queensland. We literally arrived and then found out that we had to turn around. after driving 10 hours through the night. So I was just really done. I was like, we saw these friends, we'd had COVID tests, we were negative, great days. And then something just turned dark for me that night. It was like, how could I have such an amazing connected day and then drop? And I think it was, again, maybe a sense of comparison that I'm not at this point, I should be at this point, blah, blah, blah. I think there was something sneaky at play that I hadn't quite cottoned on to. And that night was so bad. I didn't sleep. I cried. I wanted to quit my business. So dramatic. I wanted to, like, everything is just so dramatic. I have to quit and I'm ashamed. I'm going to go hide and I'm going to go get this very boring day job and do nothing with my life. And all of that was going on. And it really was, the breakdown before the breakthrough. Sat there the next day. My husband took the kids out, said, I'm going to give you some space. And he did say at one point, is it time to go back to the GP and have a chat about depression? And I was like, I think it might be. So I booked that appointment in, and after New Year's got into the GP and got back, just went, I surrender. I have depression. I cannot deal with these flare-ups anymore. I've done my best over years and years, postpartum. And essentially my story is high levels of stress ended up triggering off a depressive episode that I wasn't quite, an illness that I wasn't quite getting on top of. When I got back on medication and started working, oh my God, everything just went into the stratosphere, because it was like, this is why all the mindset stuff wasn't working. This is why all the energy pieces weren't working. It didn't matter how much I journaled. It didn't matter how much I heard, like, about belief and taking a leap and being abundant. And it's just like everything just clicked into gear. It was like, oh, here I am. And now I actually believe all those things because I'm not constantly fighting off this depressive voice. So for me, that dark night of the soul, I'm really grateful for it, because after that, I got intensely creative. I got really aligned. All the energetic work started working, rather than me kind of like half believing it and doing this half-baked job of everything. So I really want to thank modern medicine for being so instrumental in me being all the things that I wanted to be. So that was that late December dark night of the soul. I'm so grateful for it, because it triggered off a whole other chain reaction that I needed in order for everything to actually work.
Interesting, because some people are so wanting to come off their medication because it feels like it numbs them, but it did the opposite for you. It helped, I guess, you were at a crisis point, you needed that help to bring things up again, and then you were able to access your creativity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Incredibly, it was like the lights turned. It was like a new level of lights turned on that just, I could not flick that. I tried everything. I mean, I'm in personal growth. Of course, I've tried everything. Like, I've tried everything. And it's just like they just turned on these lights that I couldn't turn on myself. And then everything just went hypercolor, and I created the podcast within 2 weeks of being on medication. Just when I've got the podcast, here it is. And like things just, and I just the fear factor went down, the creativity and the bravery went up. And I feel really sorry for people that don't have that affirming experience on medication, or they do feel numb. For me, it was quite the opposite.
Was it something that you tried to avoid, going on medication?
Yep. I really didn't want to. For years. Whenever I thought about it, there was a stage where I couldn't, because I was breastfeeding, and the one that works for me was, postpartum second time around, I couldn't go back on it. So I kind of just shelved it after that, shelved it as a possibility. And all I can say is the moment I booked that appointment, I felt sweet. It's one of the most powerful somatic experiences of surrender I've ever had. I just felt like, I just felt like I'd fallen into a cloud in every definition. It was like You don't have to fight this battle, and you don't have to have the struggle story anymore. So it really, it was incredibly powerful for me. And I just went, oh, this is surrender, and this is what I want more of in my life. So it was very powerful.
Now, I cut you off quite a few minutes ago when you were talking about your sexuality and coming out. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. So this is actually really beautiful. It's a really beautiful dovetail because I really credit the medication as well for everything so much. What do I want to say? I really want to credit it for unlocking so much this year for me. I'll always remember 2021 as an intense year of growth and change and being willing to evolve. So I think I had another dark night of the soul. My goodness, I forgot all about it. I had another one around a really potent moon this year. Can't remember which one it was. And I was lying in bed one night, and for some reason I just got the message, I've known forever that I'm bi. I'm like, you've known forever. Don't you think that maybe speaking about this is an important piece of your integration? Don't you think that speaking about this could really liberate other people? Don't you think that it's possible for you to be open about this, and that's going to really help you let go, and unveil in a whole other way? I was like, yes. My husband was asleep next to me, and I think it was 10:30 at night. I was lying there going, should I record a podcast episode? Should I go downstairs and record a podcast episode? And I went, I'm going to do it. And I came downstairs to my office, recorded this podcast episode when I'm not preparing anything. I'm just going to speak off the cuff. And I did that almost in darkness, finished up at 11:30 at night, and then went to bed and thought, it's there, it's recorded. I don't have to do anything with it. No one knows that I've done this. And the next morning I mentioned it to my husband and just said, okay, so last night, for some reason, I have just decided to record this podcast. I said, but I want your yes before I put it out there, or your support, not your yes, but your support. And he fully supported me. And from then I just went, okay, I know I'm safe. It doesn't matter if anyone rejects me, don't self-reject. Doesn't matter what happens with this. If some people in my life don't speak to me again, I'm safe because I'm safe in myself, and I'm not going to self-reject. And this is a piece of my self-acceptance. And I just kind of kept repeating that to myself. I went, I know that if these people don't talk to me, I'll still be okay. I'll still be alive. And scheduling that podcast gave me a deadline to call my parents. Scheduling that podcast gave me a deadline to leave a voice note to my mentor to say, oh, I love you and I really love your support in this. And the love was unconditional and got bounced back. And I was like, and I told some other important people in my life. And it just got me into action. And they were hard calls to make, but they went well. And I felt really grateful. And I said the way I put it to my parents was, who are separated, I said, there is no drama. There is no other person. There is no marriage breakdown. I said, there's nothing. I would rather tell you now than hide all these secrets and this truth about myself. And then one day something happens, because who knows what's going to happen in life. I'm not going to pretend I know all the answers or I know exactly how things are going to play out. And I just said, and I don't want you to find out in a really inadvertent, secretive, concealed way, and that will cause you so much more stress. And if I just say to you right now, hey, this is me, this has always been me, I would like you to know this truth about me. And I think when I put it in that frame of reference, they understood that it wasn't me coming to them because there's a problem. It's me just letting them know, hey, this is the truth. Nothing's changing. I'm still married to my husband. I'm still in love with my husband. We are partners. Full stop. So that was a big week. I was pretty drained from that week. And life went on, and I got lots of beautiful messages from people who'd listened to the podcast episode and felt like they'd been given a green light to be themselves or to say something to someone that they love about their sexual identity. But yeah, I'm really proud of who I am, and I'm proud of really proud of taking that step. And it's just me. That's all I can say. It's just me. This is me.
Yeah. How did it feel putting it out there?
It feels like a relief because I get to narrate the story. I don't care what anyone says about me, or if they have their own parts of themselves that they haven't reconciled, and that this somehow this somehow not triggers them off, but or somehow activates their projection. So I just feel like if I put it out there, I get to control the story about who I am on a whole other level, and that makes me feel really good. I use that word control sparingly. It's but in this regard, I feel like I get to be really clear about who I am and what I put out there, and nothing is a surprise to anyone. And that excites me, that I get to show up in that way, and I get to feel whole. Like I've probably never felt enough or felt whole until this year. And I finally can go, oh my God, I don't have that. I'm not enough story anymore. I didn't realize how much headspace it took up. I'm so grateful. I literally do not have that story anymore. I just immediately go, as soon as I see something that I get jealous or envious of, I just go, oh, thank you for showing me another way. Sweet. That's possible for me as well. So I just don't have that story. And I would definitely credit being honest about my sexuality as being one of the key parts of that.
And the fears that ran through your head, or the possibilities of, well, this person might not talk to me, or that person might not agree with it, did any of that come to fruition?
No. But I recognize that that is definitely not everyone's story or experience. So I want to acknowledge that. If anyone had anything, there were some concerns through a member or two of the family, but I feel like I put them to rest and put them to bed, kind of thing. And I felt like, again, I got to control the narrative when something was said. But otherwise, no, nothing was negative. And if anyone had anything negative, then they didn't tell me in any way. They didn't write me a message. There was no negativity, I didn't see any big mass unfollowing or anything like that on social media, although I was open to that. I was like prepared for that and open to it, because it's like, good, if this doesn't turn on something inside of you or help you understand yourself on another level, or understand me and this work on a whole other level, then I'm okay with that. I'm definitely okay with that. So I feel very grateful that I had that experience, and I was very cognizant of saying something without there being a drama or a scandal or anyone else's involvement or anything like that. So that felt good to do it that way. Yeah.
What episode was it on your podcast? And I'll link it to
the secrets of being bi. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the episode number. It's around episode 30 something. It's the last one I did of season 1, and it was so interesting. After I did that, I felt like, I just needed, but like I ended season 1 on that note for the podcast. I was like, I feel done. And then I recharged my batteries and got back into it for season 2. But it really felt like the final chapter of that first season. It was very interesting.
So can you just tell us a little bit more about what you mean around tuning into what turns you on and how this brings alignment and satisfaction to all that you want in life.
Yes. Oh, yes, of course I can. I would love to. So this is really interesting, but I didn't start using the term turn on until I wasn't a sexologist anymore. Well, I'm sorry. I will always be a sexologist. I'm very proud. I'm a qualified sexologist. I will always own that part of myself, but I'm not identifying as a sexologist, primary label for me right now. But it's so interesting. It was like I had to finish sexology to really tap into turn on a whole other level. And I was tapping into it through the work and through my book Permission that I wrote 3 years ago. The term turn on just started coming through, and I have to credit Angela Gallo, who I did some brazen business coaching sessions with in 2020. And Angela is a permission granter of all sorts. And one of her quotes is, if you're not turning anybody off, then you're not turning anybody on. And that quote just revolves around my mind on a regular basis. It's like the crux of it being it's safe to turn people off, because if you're really palatable, everyone's going, yeah, she's good, or she's okay, or I like her, but they're not really getting fired up. And I'm here for the getting fired up piece. I'm not here to pander to people and make sure like you like me and all of that. Like, I'm not going to let fear lead the way in this work. So I really want to credit Angela for that. And the term turn on just kept coming through. And I started asking myself this very small, powerful question, especially when I started being treated for depression at the beginning of the year. And it was, what turns me on? Does this turn 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 me on? And I was just tuning into that simple yes and simple no. There were no maybes, no room for maybes. It was like it either turns me on or it doesn't. Just starting a podcast turn me on. Yes, it does. That feels so fucking good. I'm going to do it. And I have continued to ask myself this question for everything this year. I will open a menu and ask myself what turns me on. Okay, the oysters turn me on. This turns me on. Getting this turns me on. And it's just been a powerful green light for my life that I would love other people, especially women, because that's who I work with, to access and to ask themselves this question, this very simple question of, does this turn me on? And if, one of my caveats is, if it doesn't turn you on, is it a stepping stone to help you get to the turn on? So we're not going to necessarily feel turned on by absolutely everything we do in our life, because there are some tasks and obligations that just need to get done. So is it a stepping stone? If you don't love it and it doesn't turn you on, does it somehow get you closer to the turn on piece? And that's just how I'm living my life. I'm letting turn on lead. I ask myself for every offer I do in my work, does this turn me on? And if it turns me on, then that's my yes, and that's my yes to execute. So, and I love it. It hasn't let me down. I might not get the strategy piece exactly right. That's okay. I'm okay with that, because what I trust now is that it will always show me what it's meant to be if it doesn't work out. Okay, it wasn't meant to, this offer wasn't meant to be this, is actually meant to be this. Oh, thank you. You've turned me on even more than I thought that I could be turned on. So I just want everyone to give themselves permission to let something more powerful lead in their lives, something more exciting. Like, I love excitement. And turn on is very excited. It's in that real positive anticipation of what's coming. And I just think there's space for so much more.
How do you know if something turns you on? Like, do you get a sensation? Do you get butterflies in your tummy? Like, I know it's different for everyone, but how does it show up for you?
For me, it's goosebumps, and I'll get goosebumps I get them in really specific places. I get them running down my legs when something's really a big yes. I get them for my clients when they're telling me something, and I will tell them that is a big yes because I'm getting goosebumps running up and down my legs right now. It's goosebumps, it's tingly pelvis, like almost like arousal. And I'm just sitting here rocking in the chair right now. It's flushed cheeks. It's feeling my brain expand and morph. It's like my head just goes, whoa, like it's just expanding as I learn about it. So I was like, yeah, that turns me on. So it is very somatic. It's very much, there is the alignment of feeling the yes in my heart and some bodily sensations that go along with that.
Mm-hmm. So you're now a confidant. What does that mean?
Being a confidant is about walking alongside someone through all the phases and seasons of their life that are going to be thrown at them, and being that trusted source of guidance. That's what a confidant is. And the feminine version has an E on the end. The masculine version doesn't. So that's why I've got confidant with an E on the end. And I just feel like I keep women's secrets. I always have. When, through Sexology, women would sit in the chair across from me when I did in-person sessions and say, I've never told anyone this, or no one knows this about my partner and I, or you're the second person I've told. I've always been this keeper of secrets, and thought, well, why don't I make a title out of it? And what I love about the term confidant is it's so open to possibilities of what you want to share. It's just got to be your sharing, whatever that looks like, whenever it shows up for you. And that it just felt like me, and felt like what I've always done, and just being a little bit more pinpoint about that as a guide.
And what do you think the benefits are of sharing your secrets with someone?
Yeah. The main benefit is release, which I think is a term and a concept that you work a lot with, Jen. I know you do. You have a program called Release. The main benefit is release. Release, 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 release. And one of the things that my clients say when they first start working with me is, I didn't realize that I was carrying around this weight in my chest, or this pressure in my chest and in my heart, and this anxiety, and I'm finally feeling it dissolve. They're just this sense of heaviness, because they're doing everything solo, and they're expecting that their brain can come up with the answers. They're expecting that their brain can come up with the solutions. What's often missing is that somatic piece, is that dropping down into the body piece, is letting the body lead more often where possible. So release is the main thing. Feeling seen and heard is incredibly powerful, because that promotes bonding, not just with another person, but within yourself. And that sense of, I've used these words a lot in this episode, but reconciliation and integration, like finally letting those pieces slot into place, rather than having them locked in a box somewhere where they just can't be integrated in any way. And this is bad part of myself, or I did this thing, or I can't believe I'm this way and no one knows it. But we allow that. You speak about it, you get that sense of relief, you get that sense of understanding, and then it can integrate, and it's not so scary anymore. And then my clients aren't contorting themselves to wear these very uncomfortable metaphorical masks of, I'm capable, I'm fine, I'm independent, I've got this, no one can see beneath the veneer, no one can see beyond the veil, like keeping this kind of hard protective exterior up, which is costing them so much energy. And they don't realize until they let it down how much it's actually costing them in terms of intimacy and connection and self-intimacy. So there are so many benefits to releasing and revealing your secrets to, this is the asterisk, to a safe person who you trust can handle and hold you in that revelation and revealing.
Yeah. It's fascinating, I bet, what you get to hear.
Mm. Yeah, it is. It is. It's an honor and a privilege to be invited into someone's world when they haven't let a lot of people in. And what I really love about whether it's the VIP day or it's the one-to-one process that I do with women over 6 months is you just being a witness to that evolution and seeing them self-regulate in a whole new way, seeing them self-soothe, seeing them, interestingly enough, they love control, but they realize, oh, I can get control in this whole other more empowered, in some ways more certain way by self-regulating, by coming back to me and not being reactive. And it's absolutely fascinating and just an incredible honor. I feel so privileged that I have such amazing clients that keep stepping up to the plate and keep allowing themselves to be seen and vulnerable. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. Just watching the evolvement is so cool. It's like, this is where you were and this is where you are now. And imagine where you could go.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So what kind of women do you work with? Like, what are some of the issues, their pain points that they would be mulling over, wishing someone could help them with?
Yeah. So the women that I work with, before they sign up or complete an application form, or we have a chat in the DMs about working together, they are feeling like they just can't keep trying to work everything out on their own. They've done that. They've done that to death. It's like, I'm trying to be this more expansive version of myself, they won't use the word sovereign, but it is them tapping into their sovereignty. I want to be a magnetic woman. I look at other people and I wonder how that could be me. I want to know what it feels like to walk into a room and be magnetic and have everyone look at me. Like they're sensing, they're really picking up on, there's this thing that I feel like I'm missing. But I know that I can access it. I just do not get how I access it. So they identify as high achievers, what I call high generators. They've got high energy. They've got high passion. And they are abundant women, but they haven't been that abundant with themselves. Like there's this missing piece of really allowing themselves to take up more space and be all of themselves and be more expressive. And because they've usually listened to the podcast or are getting familiar with my work around turn on and the masks that we wear, they're recognizing, oh, I wear a mask, a metaphorical mask. I wear a mask. Oh my God. And I don't know how to take it off. I have no idea. Where do I even start with that? So that's where they're at by the time that they come and see me and sign up to work with me. They just know that there's got to be more to them than this. And the work starts pretty early on in helping them step into my 3 favorite words, which are and, both, more. And so we talk about and, both, more, and we slip that language in very early on. I can feel this and but I can do this and I can be this. I can be both. I can choose both. They've lived in this universe of I can only have this or I can have that. This or that. It's like, what about both? What about more? Oh, you've got this and you love it. Could it be more? So turn on and both more. We bring those concepts in very early on so that they can start to step into that expansion in a whole new way and stop feeling so limited. So the language piece is important. I love wordplay. I love it. Love the word piece. Love it. Very, very qualitative person. I'm very intuitive, and I love the word piece and playing around with words. So that's always a guaranteed part of the process.
if you're able to, what other sort of things do you notice that you're getting a lot of the women you work with to do or be? And I imagine they're relatively simple things, but not easy for them to implement. Like they've got to learn to do or be this way.
Yes. They start to learn to do and be the woman that speaks up. They start to learn in a whole different way. It's not that they're completely uncomfortable with speaking. It's about speaking in a certain way that allows them to be heard and to be clearer about asking for what they want. And that can be from work situations to what's happening in the bedroom to what's happening with friends, and to be more succinct and to really tap into the feelings of it. And I tend to take this for granted, but so many people, and myself included, still quite a cerebral person. We're making so many decisions from the head. So that one of the things that really changes is less head-based decisions, more heart, pussy, soul, body-based decisions for her. And that's a big step for her. But that piece happens really quite quickly. It's like moving everything from I think to I feel, and using feelings as more of the directive rather than should, have to, strategy. What would this look like to other people? How would this benefit other people? Like really, really dropping into them and what they feel and what they would like to do, and then seeing the ripples into how that benefits everyone else in their lives in a whole, and in their workplaces in a whole other way. So there's some of the really, and women pick up on that very, very quickly. That's not necessarily a tough nut to crack, and it's simple. But unless you've got the accountability, it's a challenge. So much of what I offer, it's not necessarily the most complicated, complex personal development experiences that you can do. The power of it is in, one, immediacy, which is knowing exactly when to introduce that thing to a client. The second thing is the accountability piece, following up. Either they just organically follow up with a message or I reach out to them. And, excuse me, the third piece is the personalization. So it might be a generic exercise, but I personalize it for them. So there are three things that you're not going to get unless you've got someone who's really looking into your life and walking alongside you. And there's so much power in that. I know there is for me, and that's what I offer for my clients.
Oh, absolutely. I think so many people try and work it out themselves, but they can get to places, not that it's about getting there fast or being in a rush, but you can get there with so much more grace and ease when you've got someone who's not emotionally attached to your outcome.
Yes, exactly. And you're right. It's not about speed, but it expedites the process. Like you get to do that leap beyond into that territory, beyond what you were probably going to do, being like self-enforcing those practices or those new ways of being.
Mm-hmm. You talked about being magnetic. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah.
A lot of people actually get scared about being magnetic and being looked at when they walk into a room and holding that energy. Yes.
So the magnetic woman, first thing is, if you want to be magnetic and you don't know where to start, the first place to start is to become more comfortable with receiving. Think about the magnetic woman, or picture her in your mind, whatever your own version of the magnetic woman is. And you'll notice she's not desperate. She's not rushing up to like grab opportunities or people or other people's energy. She's not incomplete. She doesn't see herself as incomplete. She feels herself as whole. She is able to trust. She might have been there, done that with throwing spaghetti at the wall with her with her offers or her love life, or I will take anything, and I don't care what it is, I'll just take it. She might have been there, done that, but now she knows better. And she's learned a completely different way of being. So the pace that she moves at isn't necessarily really fast, because she knows that moving really fast will probably mean that she's operating from a place that isn't necessarily that magnetic. So she needs to really feel into what it is that she wants to project, what it is that she wants to offer, and who it is that she's willing to consort with. So it's her energy on every single level. And the way I did a program earlier this year called Just Dance, and we danced the dance of magnetism. And the way that I danced, or the way that I encouraged women who did the program to dance when I did the dance of magnetism, was allowing things to come to you, but then graciously receiving that when it was something that is aligned for you to receive. So if you don't get the magnetic woman, then it's most probably because you're in a conditioned giving response, and you think, and there's a sense of overcompensation from that you need to keep over-serving, over-delivering, making sure everyone's comfortable, give. Then someone offers you time or a gift or oral sex or whatever it is, and you shut that down. It's like, no, I couldn't possibly receive. So getting comfortable with receiving compliments, getting comfortable with receiving is a big part of the magnetic energy, because people are drawn to give to you. And if it feels good for you to receive that, you don't have to say yes to everything. You can be selective. In fact, I encourage you to be selective and discerning. But getting comfortable with receiving is a big part of magnetism. Receiving money, receiving attention, receiving words, acts of service, all the love languages, touch. And the magnetic woman, it doesn't have to be you 24/7, because there are other archetypes and energies to embody, but she is something that you can activate when you choose to, and it's really powerful when you do.
Interesting. Lots of interesting stuff on here. I realize I've just said that word interesting many times throughout. So if people want to find out more about you and your work, how can they find you, Lauren?
Yeah. You can find me at my website, which is laurenwhite.com.au. That has all of my podcast episodes, which is called The Secrets Women Keep. It's got all of my services, all of my services. I've got 2 one-to-one services, and I am running some events at this point in time. So go on in, have a look. And I've also got a free opt-in called the 30 Days of Turn On. If stepping more into your most turned on self is appealing to you, then I not personally deliver, but my email management system will deliver 30 days of turn on to you, 30 days of affirmations, and an explanation with a really, really small action that you can take for 30 days. And it's really fun and beautiful and hopefully eye-opening for you. So that's all there on my website. And my social media handles is Lauren White AU, or one word. And I'm most active on Instagram, but I do have a Facebook page as well.
Brilliant. Is there any last words that you'd like to share with anyone?
Yeah, I just want to give you permission to step into becoming the turned on woman and using turn on as more of your guide for this life. And when you really embrace it, you're going to feel more alive, more fulfilled, and more satisfied. And there's nothing more important than that, because it flows on to everything and everyone.
Anything shared on this episode is for information only. It does not replace professional advice from a healthcare practitioner. If you are experiencing pain, injury, or illness, seek advice that is catered to your individual needs. Thanks for learning with me on the Art of Listening to Your Body podcast. If you like what you've heard, I would love if you could rate, review, and share with your friends. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. My handle is The Art of Listening to Your Body. If you're interested in working with me, I offer online courses for the general public and trainings for practitioners, therapists, and coaches. I also open limited one-to-one coaching spaces throughout the year. If you would like to find out more, head to my website, drjinong.com.